It is 10 a.m. and I would like to call to order the meeting of the Building and Operating Committee of Thursday, February 22nd, 2024. Before we begin, please note that the meeting is being recorded. Welcome to everyone joining us here in person as well as those listening on the phone. If you would like to provide public comment at today's meeting, and if you've not already done so, please let Thomas in the back of the room know, or Justine on the call-in line, and tell them as well what items you would like to speak on today. Madam Secretary, please begin by helping us with calling the roll.
Thank you, and good morning again, everyone. Thanks for hanging on and being with us for the last half hour. Starting with Director Conroy, is absent. Director Giudice.
Here.
Mastin.
Here.
Farr. Babbitt.
Here.
Serio.
Here.
Vice Chair Rodoni.
Here.
Chair Garbarino.
Here.
And President Cochran.
Here.
Thank you. You have a quorum. You are also a committee of the whole. Also in the room, we have Directors Grosboll, Hernandez, and Hill.
Wonderful, and welcome again all. Thank you, Amaret. Please follow along by referring to the page numbers located on the bottom right-hand corner of your meeting packet. We will begin with agenda item number 3, which is to approve actions relative to the pre-construction phase of the Golden Gate Suspension Bridge seismic retrofit project. The staff report begins on page 3, and Ava Bauer-Furbish is here to present the report. Ava, please begin.
Chair Garbarino, members of the committee, good morning. It's an important day for the seismic retrofit of the bridge. Committee and board actions recommended in the agenda item number 3 staff report represent a key step in advancing implementation of the Golden Gate Bridge seismic retrofit project, the seismic retrofit of the suspension bridge. This project is the last and the largest phase of the bridge retrofit program that the district initiated after the Loma Prieta earthquake. The report presents 4 recommendations relative to the project reconstruction phase. So these are award of PSA number 2023-B15 Golden Gate Suspension Bridge Seismic Retrofit Construction Manager, General Contractor Pre-Construction Services. Award of PSA number 2023-B42 Golden Gate Suspension Bridge Seismic Retrofit Independent Cost Estimator Services. Authorization to execute the 14th Amendment to PSA number 2010-B1 with the district's project design consultant. And finally, approval of project budget increase. So first, I would like to provide some context for these recommendations. In 2018, the Board of Directors approved the use of an alternative procurement method called the Construction Manager General Contractor Project Delivery Method for the construction of the project. Following that board action, in March 2019, FHWA approved the authorization to proceed with the project's CMGC pre-construction phase. And finally, in April 2019, the Board of Directors authorized the establishment of project number 1923, Golden Gate Suspension Bridge Seismic Retrofit CMGC. This alternative delivery method involves selecting a construction contractor, referred to as construction manager, general contractor, or abbreviated version is CMGC, through a qualification-based selection process and engaging its services during the project design stage, which is also called the project pre-construction phase. The goal is for CMGC to collaborate with the project team prior to initiating the construction of the project, and this collaboration will involve developing final construction plans and specifications and also developing a construction price and schedule. If at the end of the pre-construction phase, the district accepts the construction price proposal submitted by the CMGC, the district and CMGC may execute the construction contract so that the construction phase of the project can begin. And at this moment, the CMGC becomes a prime contractor. Because of the federal funding participation, the project is under the Caltrans and federal highway oversight for compliance with applicable state and federal laws, rules, and regulations. As such, the implementation of this alternative procurement method must conform to the FHWA-approved December 2022 Caltrans local assistance procedures for CMGC projects. In addition to the rules governing procurement of CMGC, the local assistance procedures require the district to procure services of an independent estimator consultant, also in abbreviation called ICE. This consultant is to provide independent cost estimates for the purposes of evaluating the acceptability of the CMGC's construction cost estimates and schedules, and finally, the CMGC's construction price proposal. Since this is the first project for which the district is using the construction manager general contractor construction project delivery method, during the first stage of the pre-construction phase, engineering staff has developed documents for the procurement of CMGC and ICE contracts in consultation with FHWA, Caltrans, the district's DBE office, and the district's attorneys. These procurement documents define scopes of work and qualifications of firms that would be performing the CMGC services and the ICE services. Staff has also developed a scope of work for additional services to be performed by the project's design consultant to assist the district with completion of the construction plans and specifications based on input from the CMGC and ICE and with oversight with the project technical review panel. During the pre-construction phase, CMGC will provide input on value engineering idea to improve the project's constructability and price, on impacts of project site, environmental and regulatory constraints on construction cost and schedule, and on construction cost and schedule risks, and how those risks can be mitigated. The CMGC and ICE will prepare construction cost estimates at each pricing milestone using an open book production-based estimation method and an agreed to cost model. This cost model defines cost related to such cost items like labor, materials, equipment, subcontractor pricing, supplier quotes, means and methods, and so on. The focus of the project team, which will consist of the district's engineering staff, CMGC, ICE, project design consultant, and the technical review panel, it will be to establish common understanding of factors that affect construction cost and schedule, which will aid a reconciliation of construction estimate prepared by CMGC, estimate by the ICE, and also the estimate prepared by design consultant. All of this is to lead to establishing the construction price and schedule. Consequently, the scopes of work to be delivered by the project team members contain tasks of reviewing and commenting on design plans and specifications, construction site restrictions, construction means and methods, and this must include a construction access and quality control, innovations and value engineering, construction risks, and subcontracting and DBE plans established by CMGC. It is anticipated that the duration of the remainder of the pre-construction phase will be approximately 12 months. So finally, number one, the CMGC PSA. So on May 31st, 2023, the district issued a request for statement of qualifications, number 2023-B15, Golden Gate Bridge, Suspension Bridge, Seismic Retrofit, CMGC Pre-Construction Services. Proposers participating in the CMGC procurement were required to provide information in their statements of qualifications to demonstrate, first, their financial capacity that would allow the CMGC to comply with the insurance and bonding requirements for the project during both pre-construction and construction phases. And second, the organization and legal structure that would allow the CMGC to conduct business in the state of California, including status of their licenses, compliance with various federal and state public contract laws and regulations. Furthermore, based on proposers' past performance and their understanding and approach to execution of the CMGC pre-construction and construction phases, proposers have to demonstrate that they met qualifications and expertise requirements listed in the RFQ. Based by the solicitation due date of August 4th, 2023, the Office of the District Secretary received 3 SOQs from the following firms: American Bridge Trailer Joint Venture of Lodi, California, Flatiron Obayashi Joint Venture, Concord, California, and Halmar International LLC of Nanuet, New York. Representatives from the engineering department, the district's DBE program office, and the district attorneys reviewed the proposals and determined that they were all responsive to the solicitation requirements, and all proposers received pass scores for their organizational and legal structures and their financial capacity. The district selection committee reviewed the SOQs and interviewed the 3 proposers on September 27, 2023, and evaluated them based upon criteria presented in the RFQ. FHWA and Caltrans representative observed the interviews. Reference checks of the firms and personnel proposed to be assigned to the project were also conducted. The selection committee has agreed that Halmar is the top-ranked proposer, and Halmar is the most qualified to perform the requested services. As stated in the RFQ, after the qualification-based ranking of the CMGC proposers was established, district staff opened and reviewed a seal cost proposal submitted by Halmar. Staff conducted a cost analysis and negotiated with Halmar a total not to exceed price of $5,754,332 for the CMGC pre-construction services. Staff has determined that this not to exceed price is fair and reasonable based on the services requested by the district and an independent cost estimate performed by the district. Halmar will be compensated for actual time expended at specified hourly rates and other direct expenses incurred for the not to exceed authorized amount. In conformance with the local assistance procedures for CMGC projects, there was no specific disadvantaged business enterprise goal for the CMGC pre-construction services. The district's DBE program office has determined that Halmar is not a DBE and that there will be no DBE participation associated with these services. However, as requested by the RFQ and in conformance with the local assistance procedures for CMGC projects, Hallmark signed the proposal's disadvantaged business enterprise declaration affidavit, confirming its commitment to comply fully with the USDOT DBE provisions and with the DBE goal requirements as further will be defined in the construction contract if and when it is issued. The execution of PSA number 2023-B15 with Hallmark is subject to the district receiving FHWA approval of the PSA award. So finally, staff recommends that the Building and Operating Committee recommend that the Board of Directors authorize the award of PSA 2023-B15 to Hallmark International LLC in an amount not to exceed $5,754,332 to perform the CMGC pre-construction services as presented in the staff report. So number 2. Yes.
Would you take questions now, or do you want to wait?
I'm ready to answer any questions.
Thank you. I'm not on this committee, but I did have a question. I don't mean to sound provincial, but as you know, the other 2 companies that bid were California companies. And some of them, at least one of them is sort of, my friend Mike says, but at least they're identified as California. I'm just curious, the committee just felt Hallmark, was obviously that much better?
Yes, that's correct.
Has the district used them before?
No. We have some knowledge of other companies. They have California offices. However, they operate across the United States.
Thank you.
Yes, Sabrina. Madam Chair, one follow-up question is Hallmark, based on your report, my understanding is that Hallmark then would ultimately become the prime contractor?
That's correct.
Okay. And the questions that you asked evaluating the candidates for this section, I imagine they were much more lengthy and there were lots of questions asked during the interview that are not reflected in the report. I'm assuming that since you're suggesting, Hallmark, that you were able to completely vet them to your satisfaction to, you're suggesting Hallmark, so I'm assuming that you vetted them and were very pleased with them, not just for the limited scope of this particular item that's in front of us, but for also the prime contract.
That's correct. So let me explain. We conducted extensive evaluation of their financial standing, and this was with the help of the district attorney's office. Then we conducted extensive check of their references. We spoke with other agencies that hired Hallmark before, and they all had very positive opinion of their work. And finally, we also reach out to our insurance and bonding advisors, and we look at it very carefully. And we confirm that Hallmark is more than capable to carry on this project. I'm talking about the big construction project. And finally, we have also looked at the whole slew of the qualifications that they submitted in the SOQ. We review the scope of the previous construction projects that they completed. And they have also have experience in with the alternative procurement methods. So, for example, the Port Authority of New York, New Jersey retained Hallmark, and this was under this alternative procurement method based on qualifications and some other factors. So something similar to what we're doing here. It was a very difficult job. It was the job at the airport, so you can only imagine all the staging work around. That was very impressive to see what they accomplished there. And finally, we scrutinize the legal standing. Means, we look at the licenses, we look at the standing of those licenses, any complaints, and this all came very clean. We also looked at companies' litigation history. I guess you can understand why. So it came with a very, very positive result. So it was a lot of work, and I cannot thank enough of my staff at the attorney's office, DBE office. I mean, it was really a team effort, and very often under very short deadlines. So I want to take this opportunity to thank them. And I want to thank Amoret's office for putting up with us.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I have at least 3 questions, I'm afraid, and maybe they'll generate others. In reading the material that came to us, I was impressed for the first time with the importance of the independent cost estimator in this process. So my first couple of questions are about that. Lehman-Saylor, to my knowledge, this hasn't yet become a very common process, the CMGC process in California. What is the extent of experience of Lehman-Saylor in that particular process?
So they have extensive experience. They are California-based company. By the way, they are SBE too, veteran-owned, and they have a SAP who is DBE here in California. But they've been on projects, on CMGC projects for many years now. So what they bring into the table is that knowledge that we probably want to have. As you can imagine, we have to face the fact that the district is on the learning curve with respect to this procurement. And we want to do it, this will be the first one, but we want it to be excellent. So we were searching for people who can bring to the table the best experience and expertise we can get. And we found Leland to be a very valuable partner.
Okay, very good, thank you. And the next question follows on that is, what are the ongoing points of board decision in this? So we're going to come to a point where we have a construction price proposal, and the 2 things that could happen there is either we reject it and it goes out to bid, and then we would accept or reject the bid when that comes. Or alternatively, if we liked or if staff recommended the acceptance of the construction price proposal, do we then, as a board, is this kind of an automatic thing, or do we as a board then have the prerogative of accepting or rejecting staff's recommendation on the construction price proposal?
The construction contract will exceed my delegated authority of $250,000.
I certainly understand that. I just didn't know how the legal framework for the CMGC thing goes. Okay.
If I may, maybe I owe the committee an explanation. This is not a done deal. And things happen in life. We really did the research about the history, how other agencies ended up using this procurement method, and 98%, very seldom you would hear that something went wrong. I think the important part of having the CMGC process is that we will not be surprised, okay? It doesn't mean that we may not drop from the chair with the first proposed cost estimate, but this is an open book. We will know where every cost item is coming from, what's covered, what's not. And we also will have a lengthy discussion. We'll have the cost estimate that doesn't cover any risks. And then very key item in this whole process is discussing risks. And coming into this whole business with an open mind, where the district may decide, okay, we're gonna set a contingency for this item, we're taking this risk. or Halmar will maybe better situated to handle the risk, but there will be some reflection in their price. So this is a very intricate and very intensive process that we will be engaged in. But one thing, it's an open book estimate. There are no secrets, and if the board wishes or committee wishes to be apprised what's going on, I think would be good not to have every detail out in a public forum, but it's an open process. We will not be sitting. One thing that I really, really like about this, there will be no staff sitting in this boardroom listening to Amoret's bid opening and dying 1,000 deaths, because you never know what may happen. This one, we will know where everything is going. It may be not be going exactly to the but we will know. So there will be enough input for the committee and the board to make their decision.
No, I understand the advantages, and thank you. The next question I have is kind of a bonehead question, but I have my reasons for asking it. So I'm asking it anyway. Does Halmar have a California contractor's license yet?
Yes, they do.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
Jim and then David.
Project labor agreements negotiated for projects like this, and is it even desirable?
So Halmar is a union contractor. They work with unions. They provide they support their health programs and so on. So we don't see a need.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for the work. And I'm totally supportive of alternate delivery methods, and it's worked well in our county. I think the days of design, bid, build are just too difficult and to manage. A follow-up question to what Mike was talking about in regards to, I see in the report that HDR has completed the design to an 85% level.
That's right.
So then I'm wondering about the independent cost estimator. Is that really about the methods at this point in time, or are they only looking at the last 15%?
So what's going to happen? We have 85%, and in my assessment, for this project to be seismic retrofit that involve a lot of scientific input on the earthquakes and earthquake engineering, I think it's good for that we have a well-defined scope. What will it take to retrofit this bridge? And a contractor is not in position to advise us on this. But what they bringing to the table, they will look at our plans, and then they will be looking at, for example, sequencing in which the construction will progress. They will tell us what it takes to access different locations on the suspension bridge. And they will also tell us how we may tweak details or something to make it either to fabricate or make it easier to install. So this is a very valuable input, because all of this is reflected in the cost. If something is easier to install, it will cost less than if it takes an enormous amount of effort. With regard to an independent cost estimator, we want to have someone. The district is biased, obviously, and we want the price to be as low as possible. But what ICE is bringing to the table is to keep us in touch, in my opinion, with reality, because these fellows who represent Leland, that's recommended for ICE, they are construction cost estimators. So this is a different type of estimation that, for example, we're getting from our design consultants sometimes. Although with HDR, we have a sub-consultant with them that also comes from the construction industry with a long experience in construction estimating. But as you can imagine, construction estimates is not an exact science. There are no exact formulas or anything like it. It's a lot of art and experience involved, and a lot of understanding and connections with the industry. So, for example, to know the trends in cost of steel, in cost of fabrication, who is out there that it's ready to compete, because all of this focus on the fact that the district wants the best value we can possibly get, which means the best quality, the complete project at the fair price. And when I say fair price, it has to be fair both to us and the contractor.
I appreciate that. And I guess I'm just thinking about if 85% of the design is complete, were there decisions made within that 85% that were not necessarily looked at in terms of the alternatives? Because I also know that, and I asked this partly as the state seismic safety commissioner hat. Seismic retrofit is also a bit of an art as well as a science. And there's many different alternative ways to go. And I'm just wondering if we have gone down a path that we can't retract from or shift, and how that gets played into the overall project. And if the soft costs are then also part of that mix, because we spend a lot of money with HDR, are they going to redo work to make the project cheaper, which it may be, that may be the way to go. And then lastly, also with that same hat on, we've always talked generically about the seismic retrofit, and I understand certain pressure points and the energy dissipation and all that kind of stuff. But I'd really love to have a one pager on what is it that we're designing to, what can we expect to tell the public about. The idea that I know that with the next big earthquake, that the bridge is not closed for an extended period of time. And so what is the expectation that we're putting out there? I just asked that of staff. That would be great to have to communicate, because right now you just speak of it as generic seismic retrofit. For those who do want to know more, I think it would be good to let them know.
I'll be more than happy to present this to this committee.
Great, thank you very much.
And once again, even we say it's 85% complete, it's still a lot of wiggle room for Hallmark to come with their means and methods. And that's why we're talking about value engineering, because we will rely on their expertise how to make the construction most efficient. And that's why we're bringing to the table the design consultant, because they will be required to listen and on their side come up with solutions that may help Hallmark. So this will be a really one big collaboration piece that I'm really hoping, and I'm convinced that it will bring a really good results for the district.
Thank you. I have just a quick question. I heard along the edges that there was a little concern about New York versus California. I assume that when we go out for construction contracts and engineering work outside of us, that we will look locally. We will look in California as well as other places. I think I heard Director Maston sort of approach that also, as I think we owe our local workforces consideration in major contracts like this.
So if I may explain, we're talking about the New York headquarters here. But
I understand.
Hallmark already has
Right, I
local
understand, but
offices.
people tend to get contacts in the area where
Right.
their buildings are. And so I'd just like to encourage them to look here for some of their contacts also, and I'm sure they do.
Would you like to say something? We have representatives of Hallmark. They may answer your question if you.
I don't think I personally need to hear from them as long as they hear from us, so what we're interested in.
Certainly, I think I cannot envision that they will be bringing people in, like iron workers from the East Coast. And all the labor union here will be more than satisfied with what Hallmark wants to do. And they already established their offices here, so they will not be operating out of the New York office. They will be here. They are in San Diego and in Oakland.
Yeah, I had two questions and a comment. It sounds like Leland Saylor is a great firm. You gave some very positive, but it is a little striking that 19 firms downloaded it and you only ended up being able to interview 2. Did you have any sense as to why that was?
It's hard to say. They probably, everybody is very busy. And we were very upfront that we have 12 months and we have to accomplish a very long list of tasks. For example, one of the proposers withdrew right before the interview with the explanation. They realized that we want much broader expertise than they can provide. So at least they were honest with us. And I do believe that we were quite satisfied getting the competition.
Yeah, it sounds like it. The other comment is, time-wise, are you saying this, we're only talking about the pre-construction phase today. Are we saying that's going to last approximately a year?
Yes.
And then what, at this stage, not holding you to it, what is the estimate of the actual project going to take?
Right now, we have this number of 5-6 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. I guess it's great. And my comment is, your memo is quite thorough, and unless other board members want it, I don't think you have to go through a detailed continued presentation. I think these 4 items you want us to do, I suspect there's interest in approving.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you to my colleagues for making a couple of points that I think are really important. I'd like to ask some follow-up questions with regard to PLAs and local hire and local workforces. My colleague mentioned the interest or wondering about whether a PLA would be offered in this case. And I imagine we're way down the road, and I'm not sure that we can actually even entertain the idea of a PLA at this point, although I support PLAs. One of the things that PLAs offer, or some of the things that PLAs offer, are guarantees that there will be a local workforce involved, and that there will be union representation, or that there will be respect for Schedule A language in collective bargaining agreements to protect the workers on the job sites, even if they are not officially a union contractor. They would be signatory to a PLA, offering those workers protections. And in terms of the local workforce and making sure that the money stays here and that the local companies benefit from the monies coming to them for the work on this project. I guess what I'd like to know, and it's convenient that Halmar is here, representatives of Halmar are here. You inferred that maybe Halmar had made a commitment to hire only union subcontractors. Is that clear?
I cannot speak for Halmar,
Okay.
but we know that they are union contract, for sure.
Okay. So is Halmar here, and would they like to address whether or not they will hire all union contractors on this project? That would be great. Thank you.
Good morning, directors. Good morning, directors, chairperson, co-chairperson. I'm Brian Peterson with Halmar. Give you a little context to answer some of the questions you brought up. I've been in the Bay Area 17 years. I actually was the project director on the Self-Ice suspension span when I was with American Bridge. So context to PLAs, to local hires, to subcontractors, everything that went on. For all of you who admired whatever the hell was going on across the river and the Bay, watching us do that, we'll fight the same battles here, and we'll fight it collectively. The difference here, as Ms. Bauer has said, is you have selected a delivery method that probably allows you to get a price, because the work that's associated with this job, many people, including Halmar, may have walked away from submitting a bid because of the risk involved in here. We have the next year to collectively come together, be it with labor, be it with materials, be it with whatever the project needs to successfully deliver, including a risk allocation. All that being said, though, to your point, yes, Halmar performs most of its work in a union environment. When I was with American Bridge on the SAS, we had a project labor agreement that was not executed or initiated by Caltrans. It was initiated by the contractor. So saying that, there's a limited amount of craft that'll be involved in this job. Setting aside what the painters may do, we may look at this or we may sign local agreements because it's not necessary for a PLA. Something we have to evaluate. For your question, with respect to hires, there's certain components on this job that are specific and the expertise required is pretty refined. We will do our best to work within the state as we did, but as I bring up SAS, and she'll be sick of me after a few years of saying it, we had to reach to a global procurement to deliver that job because of necessity, need, and expertise. We will offer everybody locally the ability to do this, but the district also has a bridge that it has to upgrade and maintain over time with the best possible aspects of all conditions that we have to deal with. So I say that it's a very broad answer because I don't want to collectively say that every expertise that needs to respond to this bridge exists within the state. I just, we're not at a point that we're able to do that, but we will do our best to, and I know certain people know the local unions. We had to boom people in. We boomed foremen in at American Bridge. We may do that here, but that doesn't take away the local 377, 378. It doesn't take away the laborers. It doesn't take away the carpenters. It doesn't take away the pile butts or the operating engineers. They'll all come from the local market here. It all depends on what the hall looks like at that point in time and the demand we have on them. But to our best interest, we would want to collectively have an agreement that allows for our success. You know, we never invoked, and the no strike clause is the biggest thing. We never had to invoke that on SAS because it never existed. We had a few longshoremen problems, but that was set aside by other reasons. So I hope I'm giving you the confidence that we're not just showing up with New York license plates and we're up at the DMV tomorrow picking up our new plates. And I don't mean to be sarcastic because when we came out here as American Bridge in 2006, I honestly dealt with the same questions. I was an operations manager and I finished the job for the last 6 years. First person in, last person out. That's why I look so young. I give you that same commitment here, though. So it's not somebody just showing up. There may be people that used to work for American Bridge that will be under Halmar's employ, but it'll be the best people for you as the district to have working for you as a contractor. And Ms. Bauer and Mr. Eberly, you know, we're an extension of you. Yes, our contracts are different, but I speak a lot of words to give you the confidence that the contractor that you'll hopefully select today is somebody you actually do know. You may not know their name, but you know some of their people. You can go check me out at anybody from Caltrans, and Mr. Mulligan and Ms. Bauer can run up and down the Caltrans flagpole. I wanted to say that to you because it's not a boast. We did a job years ago that had to be done, and we got it done. And we have another job here to do, if you approve us, that we'll do the same level. Just I work for a different company. That's all I say. But I have the same pride. So I hopefully, in a very roundabout, long-winded way, answered all your questions. And if I didn't, and if with your permission, I'll answer any question you want us to.
Thank you for your contributions here. Does anyone have any questions after that wonderful presentation? Thank you so much. Very, very much.
Why don't you put that out of the committee?
I'll move the item.
Okay. Is there further discussion? And I'm looking at Ava, wondering if she's okay that we just moved the item and seconded it. I know she was on a great roll. Okay. No further discussion then. This is going to require, I believe, a roll call.
Sure, we can do a roll call vote on that one.
Okay.
We are a committee of the whole, so I'm going to roll call the vote, starting with Director Conroy. Sorry, I rolled through public comment because I know there's no speaker on the line for this item and there's no one in the room for public comment. Sorry about that.
And all of you that have been in this seat know that there's a wonderful script that you must follow. You miss an important step. Okay, wonderful.
But we can pull one more time if you like, just in case someone came in during the presentation.
Okay.
We don't know, no one's actually unmuted themselves to speak, but we'll give them a chance to. How's that? Justine, why don't you pull your line? We have no speakers in the room. Why don't you pull the line to see if there's anybody on your public line that might want to speak?
Certainly, thank you. Is there anyone that's joined that would like to speak on this item this morning? Please use * to unmute yourself and let me know. I am not hearing anyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'd note from my Cliff Notes that this is not a roll call vote, but I will entertain ayes in favor of the motion.
Aye.
Thank you. I assume there's no opposition. Not hearing any. Let the record show there is no opposition and the motion passes. Wonderful. Thank you, Ava, very, very much. That was phenomenal, as usual. So now we will continue on to item number 4, which is an informational monthly report from board appointees on the Sonoma Marin Area Rail Transit Board. I'll start off the report with, and I'm coming into this next millennium, the general manager's report, of course, highlighted. Yesterday we had a board meeting. Ridership, because of the rain, as you can all imagine, that's down a bit. Project engineering update from the engineering team. There will be partial system closures due to some construction in 2 parts of the track in March. Community meetings, some wonderful feedback from the community meetings, and an update on the 2024 strategic plan. In addition to that, there was a wonderful presentation that was visual, practically tactile, that was a SWOT. Am I getting that right? SWOT. And they utilized Minty, which was an interesting software that, as I asked the question, is it possible for people to vote more than once on an item and give an opinion more than once? And I was assured no. And then some wonderful woman admitted from the bicycle community in Sonoma that she actually did vote more than once. So she found a way. I'm sure they'll button that up. Also in the body of the agenda, we had a budget update, which was very thorough and very well presented. And then I think the most important piece of the meeting was a presentation by Ron Downing and his consultancy group that was talking about the San Rafael Transit Center, which has had a lot of passion and emotion around it. And forgive me, I live in San Rafael, and I can remember a time when someone, no one in this room, thought it was a good idea to put it under the freeway. Do you remember that?
Yes.
We've come a long way, baby. Yeah, and it's a lovely, lovely, lovely design and presentation. And Ron, most importantly, did a phenomenal job. And I would hope that you could share that with him, his colleagues. Would you, Kelly? That'd be just great. Did I miss anything, you guys? Barb and David on the SMART report?
I'll just emphasize what a great job that Ron did, but also that the district, rightfully so, got good kudos for doing great outreach.
Yes.
And so just know that the outreach was very much respected. Interestingly, on the freight side of things, that was a bit dour, because we are rolling through some reserves, not making enough money. Really, the freight for SMART, the way that it works is that it's storage that pays the bills, for better or worse. And our choice, once again, is LPG storage, propane tanks that pay a premium, because when they mix the fuel over in the East Bay and the refineries, they need to have that happen very quickly. So they'll pay a lot per day on that storage. We are talking to Caltrain to store the old locomotives and cars when they electrify, but those would be for sale. So we don't know how long that will last, and you don't get the same premium. And then also, interestingly enough, who knew? A vegetable oil tanker cars. But again, you don't get the same premium. And I mean, going into this fiscal year, to give you an example, we need about $500,000 to run that service, and we'll have $300,000 at the beginning of the year. The storage is in the tens of thousands of dollars, so it's not looking good. The downside is that if Smart ever has to give up the freight service, it's now available for any common, because we're a common carrier, it would be available for any short line to come in. And that means that the passenger service has to deal with another entity on your track. And that creates other issues. So you can imagine there's lots of conversations going on in Sacramento and whatnot. There's some good dollars available for greenhouse gas emission reductions, but it has to do with it doesn't have to do with keeping the system up and running, ironically, because in my opinion, if we lose the ability to ship by freight, all that freight is going to end up on the freeways, which is not going to be a positive going forward. So that was kind of a bit of a downer yesterday, but another challenge that we have to overcome. So thank you.
If any of you know any freight people, please feel free to have a call.
The steel for the bridge. We could haul it around.
All right.
What about Lagunitas Brewery?
They do. All the freight customers are in my district, including Lagunitas, who hauls in the materials for brewing. Unfortunately, because of the avian flu outbreak, even that, the freight hauling of feed for the animals is taking a dive. So, one thing after another.
There was talk at one point about hauling trash as well.
Yeah.
I wasn't a part of that. Yeah. Mike.
Just on the question of freight on the tracks, keep it off, because I once missed a Golden Gate Bridge Board meeting because I was on the Coast Starlight and there was freight on the tracks.
Right. I'll tell them to send us money then.
I went to Waste Expo, which needs a new name, in Chicago, and I took the train, and same thing happened, and we ran out of food, which is like throw mama from the train kind of issue.
Waste Expo. I assume if you started storing tankers again, that you'd run into the same PR legal issues as the CRA did.
Imagine, yeah.
We've actually reached out to that community. It's the community around Shellville, and they are not interested in listening. Is that a good way to say that, David?
Could be a problem.
Not to get too political, but what's ironic, and to me, it's a bit of an equity issue. If you look where Shellville is and that storage facility, it's pretty remote. It's in the Baylands. I mean, yes, there's houses up valley, but right now, if you drive over, was it not you, Patty? Someone was saying they drove along 580, that stretch between getting off Richmond and down to towards the maze.
Yeah.
You see tanker cars there now stored alongside a neighborhood with high-rise residential, and those are waiting for the refineries to call them in to change the blends. So, equity in my mind goes always, and just because we don't want it in our neighborhood doesn't mean that we don't use it in our vehicles, and but it's a political hot potato.
Well, that being said, we'll move. One of the items that I forgot to mention was that there is a hearing in the city of San Rafael regarding the Transit Center on March 4th. There's several hearings. So I'll be there if anyone wants to join me. And I assume, Dennis, you'll be there. We could meet at Joe's before. There you go. So, thank you, Barb. Thank you, David. Thank you, Jim, for the questions. Any other comments on the SMART report? That concludes our discussion then on item number 4. But before we move on, is there anyone from the public wishing to speak on this item?
We have no speakers for this item on the line or in person.
Okay, so no action is required for item number 4. So we will continue on to item number 5, which is status report on engineering projects. The staff report begins on page 23 of your packet, and Ava will present this report. Go ahead, Ava.
Thank you, Chair Barbarino. My written report is before the committee, and I'll be happy to answer any question you may have for me.
Great, thank you. Colleagues, are there any questions for Ava on the engineer's report? None. Wonderful, thank you so much again. There is no action associated with that item. Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak on this item or address the committee under item number 6, which is public comment?
We have no speakers on the line for items 5 and 6, nor do we have any in the room.
Thank you. We've reached the end of the agenda. May I have a motion to adjourn this meeting? Second?
Second.
Probably hearing no objections, this concludes the meeting of the Building and Operating Committee. Thank you, colleagues. The time is 10:56, and I promise to return tomorrow to school with the doctor's note. I'm not contagious. That's what she said yesterday.
All right, we'll
Thank
start
you all.
finance at 11 o'clock.
Thank you for the beverages.